Hello and welcome to the next episode of this Fat Loss in 15 series. And today what I'm going to do is going to do things a little bit differently. And essentially what we're going to do is going to talk through why we made Club 300 to be what it is today through my experiences of coaching over the last almost 11 years now, and why we think this is the way that the industry is trending. And a few people got very lucky that I made this revelation quite early into my career where we wanted to go and how the industry was going to move in this direction. So I started PTing in Pure Gym in March 2015 it would have been, and I started as a not a rent PT, I can't even remember, it was an agreement we had with Pure Gym. We didn't get paid, we just started there, and I would work 15 hours a week for free. And what it did was it allowed me to take any PT in the Pure Gym and not have to pay them any money. So I essentially gave up 15 hours of my time. But back then, PT wasn't really a thing. Like, people didn't really do it that much. I remember one of the boys, Mike, who was the busiest PT at the time, only doing about 20 sessions a week. And now people who are 6 months out of PT school will be doing that quite comfortably because it's such a common thing. So it wasn't a thing back then because it wasn't really a service. And this is a story that I say quite often to people, and that is that same PT who was the busiest, who I probably respected the most, who I kind of looked up to because he was so busy. I remember one day he came into the Pure Gym staff room, this tiny little box of room, and I was sitting in there having a wee coffee and a bite to eat, and he was like, he was a bit frantic, he was a bit flustered, and he was talking about he had this client coming in 5 minutes and he had no plan for them. And this just absolutely blew my mind. I was like, what do you mean you don't have a plan for them? So he was busiest, he had a good reputation, he was the one that I respected and looked up to, and he was just absolutely winging every single session. There was no training plan, there was no nutritional guidance, there was no accountability, there was no support outside of the sessions. And I remember thinking at the time, that is ridiculous. I was doing more with my few clients I had than he was, and he was seen as one of the best, and he was seen as the best PT in the Pure Gym at the time. And looking back at that now, it's an absolute joke of what was actually happening. So then over the next couple of years, the industry really started to change. People started getting PT more and more, became a much more common thing. But then we all had to up our game. We had to make sure all the clients had training plans. They needed help with nutrition. They needed help with their accountability and support and lifestyle stuff outside of that. But I believe there's only so far one-to-one coaching can take the vast majority of people, because one session a week or 2 sessions a week, and if you're getting 2 sessions a week one-to-one, for us to make a living out of it, it gets very, very pricey. I mean, we're at the end, when I was doing 2 sessions a week with people, we'd be talking about £400 a month, and then they would also need to get their gym membership outside of that if they were wanting to make any change. So I mean, that is a pretty hefty investment for most people, and there was quite a few, but I think I had about 10 people at one point paying that. And it is a really hefty investment, but it still leaves people hanging dry, because 2 sessions a week is good, but it's not enough to get the real and lasting change. And most people can't keep that sort of price point up for a long time, but also there's no flexibility to it. For example, if the sort of people who can afford that tend to be professionals, and a lot of these professionals have young families, they have social lives that they want to go into, so they're working hard and then they're going home and they have their families, and then they're going out and enjoying their life at the weekends. And for example, if they get ill, or if they get stuck in work, or something happened with their family, or there was a crash on the way home and they get stuck in traffic, if their session was at 5 p.m. and they missed their session, they lose the session. There's no making that up, because it didn't work from my end and it was just part of the agreement. So if they were ill one week and they would just lose their sessions, and or not one week, or something happened both days, they get stuck in work, they would just lose their sessions. And it left people a lot of hanging dry, and it meant that they would have to come into the gym by themselves and have to do the sessions by themselves, and ultimately, which was a very busy gym, which was even overwhelming and intimidating to people who did know what they were doing. It even sometimes made me feel a wee bit overwhelmed, because there was just so many people rammed into such a small group, a small space, and it just wasn't enough touch points with people. It just wasn't enough. People were paying a lot of money, they were getting a good service, and I would say my service was better than the vast majority of people And I think that's led to kind of the trust issues that we're facing now in the coaching space, because I speak to so many people who say that they've been burned before, they've paid a lot of money for a coach, and they've had like a wee WhatsApp check-in, and they get sent up training plans and videos on how to do it themselves, and it's just not what people need. People don't need access, they don't need shiny equipment. What they need is they need accountability, they need support, they need clear guidance, they need coaching, they need an environment, and they need relationships and enjoyment to keep them coming back. So that is why we decided to make Club 300 coaching to be where it is today, because we say we have the 5 pillars of Club 300 coaching. Pillar number 1 is the training itself. Our clients can come into the gym every single day of the week and be coached every single day of the week. We run over 70 sessions a week, so not only can they be coached every day of the week, if they get stuck in work or something happens and they miss their 5 p.m. session, they can just move back and book into the 6 p.m. one. So they have that flexibility for what is a modern, messy life where things crop up, where things happen. And instead of losing that session, they just push it back an hour or two and they do it later on in the day, meaning they don't have to miss out. Pillar number 2 is the ongoing education and the plan itself. So when anyone signs up with us, you get what's called your results roadmap. We look at where you are, where you want to be, and then we plot you a roadmap from point A to point B. But you don't just get left on your own to do that. You then have your success coach holding you accountable to that and guiding you through it and explaining any bits that might seem confusing. So you're only ever one message away from getting all the help you need. You're not left in the dark. You have plenty of touch points because you can come into the gym every day of the week, and then you have your success coach to lean on if something doesn't make sense. Okay? And then we've got pillar number 3 and 4, which I typically put together, and that's the support and the accountability. And that is not only through your success coach. I always say the biggest separator between those who get results and those who don't is the ability to get back on plan quickly. And if you're left on your own, that's not going to happen, because it's so easy to talk yourself out of it, so easy to let yourself down. Just have a wee think. And I'm sure every single person that's watching this and listening to it will have done it. How many times it's been December, chucking it down, sleet outside, the sleet's coming in sideways, and you're just like, I can't be arsed going to the gym today. I don't want to eat that food that I meal prepped. I'm going to get myself a takeaway. I'm not going to go to the gym. I'm just going to sit on the couch and watch Netflix. And that's you talked yourself out of it. I'll go tomorrow instead. But when you've got that accountability coach knowing that they're going to check up on you, the chances of that happening are a hell of a lot lower. So that's your accountability layer number 1, is your self-accountability, and that's doing what you said you're going to do. And accountability layer number 2 is doing what your coach has asked you to do. But with our coaching method, we also have accountability layer number 3, and that is your social accountability. This goes back to what I'm talking about in the environment. When anyone joins us, we see this common theme over and over again, and that is the friends that you make, the training partners you get in the gym. And that's your third layer, because you don't want to let your training partners down. You don't want to have them messaging going, where were you? Why didn't you show up? Sort of thing, giving you that wee kick up the bum as well. But you've also got the enjoyment aspect of it, because you know you're going in to see a friend, you know you're going into a warm, welcoming space. You're so much more likely to go. So that whole talking yourself out of, I can't be arsed going tonight, not only do you have your coach checking in on you asking why you've not been here, a friendly kick up the bum, it's nothing serious. And 2, you've got your friends and your training partners checking in up on you, making sure you're okay and asking why you didn't make it. And that just makes the chances of you talking yourself out of it just drop dramatically. And consistency and getting back on plan quickly after life throws you off is really where the results come from. I always say it's not what you do in the individual sessions that matter, it's what you do over the 12-week period that matters. And we always do everything in 12-week blocks. We look at where you are, where you want to be, plot that roadmap, hold you accountable, then we review and reset and plot again. And can you imagine how much easier that would be when you've got somebody looking over your shoulder, making sure you're doing all the right things outside of the gym and helping you with your habits. And then when you come into the gym, you've got your coach helping you, you've got your training partners helping you, you've got your friends helping you, holding you accountable. And it's so much more enjoyable when you're not lost, when you don't have that fear of the unknown. Okay, and that means you never have to have that going into the gym by yourself into an overwhelming, overcrowded space. You're not losing your sessions because you got stuck in work. You've got that flexible timetable to work around you, and then you have that community aspect where you're always training with friends and friends and coached friends. I was going to say friends and family, no, that's not right. Well, there might be your family. Quite often people bring their partners, so Yeah, and then that leads on to our final pillar, which is pillar number 5, and that's the community aspect. And I've kind of touched on this already, how important the relationships are, because having enjoyment is what keeps you consistent. What keeps you consistent is what gets the results, and a lot of the enjoyment comes from the people and the relationships you build. Last week I spoke about our engagement party, and we had about 20 people from the gym come to it, and you often see people in the gym much more frequently than you see your friends, much more frequently than you see your family. I mean, I'm seeing some of these guys 4, 5, 6 times a week, every single week for years on end. So of course you build those deeper relationships and you get good friends with them, and that's just what makes it enjoyable. I always always remember coming across this quote that I did when I was building my first ever kind of coaching project back in lockdown. And that was, it's an old African proverb, and is that if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And I really feel that fits our ethos of what we're doing here, because so many people try and go alone and they have 4 weeks where they absolutely blitz it, they blast it, they've gone fast, but then they fall off. Or you take the Club 300 approach, you go together, you become part of a community, you get coached, you have guidance, you have support, you've got accountability, and you go together and you go far. It might be slower, but it fits your life, it's enjoyable, and it lasts for the long term. And when it lasts for the long term, that's when you really enjoy it and you really reap the results. So the fitness industry has gone from one-to-one PT not really being a thing and the standards being really low, to one-to-one PT, the standards becoming a coaching service. But still, there's so many drawbacks to one-to-one PT, and I do think it will die out because of the price, especially these days, to what we're seeing today, which is a fully coached system, which we call semi-private personal training, with coaching access outside of the gym. So we actually mailed online coaching and one-to-one PT into our semi-private coaching model, and from all the calls I'm having with people who are interested in joining and want to sign up, nobody does what we do, and it just gives you that whole complete package of where you can actually get results, enjoy it, and not have that fear of the unknown, fear that you're going to injure yourself, fear that you're going to embarrass yourself, because you've always got someone by your side, making it simple for you. Okay, and that was just me doing a complete brain dump about what we do, where the industry's been, and why I think the industry is trending this way. And if you've been burned before, and if you've been stuck on the fence and you're listening to this and you would love some help and you want to find out a little bit more about how we could help you, please feel free to reach out. Let's have a chat and I'll talk you through exactly where you're stuck, how we can help, and even if you don't sign up with us, I can give you a wee action plan moving forward. Have a nice day, guys. I'll speak to you next week.